So hey guys, welcome back. Last time around we were working on this input component and we were trying to do this value and on-change thing. Oh, by the way, this component which has a on-change and which is being worked by React itself and which gets its value from the React state. This kind of a component is called as a controlled component. Why? Because our virtual DOM, or in other words, we are writing the code that controls this component. Okay, so this kind of a component is called as a controlled component. If somebody asks, chalo, let's get going. Now in this video, we want to check how the Unsplash's API works. So let's just do Unsplash API search. Go here, unsplash.com/developers. You can log in and click on your apps. This was the app that we created in the first video. So our app is Splash Clone, right? And we have some information, blah, blah, blah. Let's not read this. Let's go to the documentation itself, right? Oh, setting up, get a random photo list. No, we need search photos by keywords. Okay, let's jump to documentation. So it is basically search slash photos. Let's see if there's an example. Okay, so here's a small example. So it is api.unsplash.com/search/photos. And then we have a query parameter, which is page one and query office. So this let's just see what are the parameters query for the search terms and which we can see here query office, right? Uh, page number to retrieve and per page how many items. So this page and per page are used for pagination, as some of you might know. Uh, pagination is basically that footer that we see which shows us the page number 1 2 3 4 5 6 dot 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 20, right? If you guys don't know, so in this particular application right now we are not going to implement pagination. So what we'll do, we'll use per page prop and we'll set it to 20. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's copy this whole thing till here, right? Search slash photos and go to a new tab and paste it here. You can use Postman if you want and add the query parameters there. But for this is a GET request, we don't need to use Postman for that. And those of you who don't know what Postman is, forget what I said. Let's just add a question mark. And our first parameter is query. Let's just add query right now. Query equals to, let's do cat, right? Let's see what happens. It is giving us an OAuth error. The access token is invalid. I think this is not visible to you guys. Let me just zoom in. I think, yeah, this should be good to go. So basically, it is saying that I am not authenticated to make this request, right? So how do we do authentication? Let's go here. You see this authorization thing? Inside under that we have public authentication. Let's click and it is giving me an example to add a client ID and your access key as your query param. So let's just copy this, come here, cat, like we have written query cat, and after that type a and paste that client ID, your access key. Now this access key is basically coming from the Splash Clone project, if you remember. This is my access key, right? You can just click here to copy and delete this text and add your access key here. Let's see what happens then. Okay, so how many results do we have? We have 10. So let's add another parameter saying and per underscore page equal to, let's do 20. So we have 20 results. So, and by the way, if this is not how it's visible on your Chrome, there is this extension called as JSON parser. You can just download this Chrome extension and it will basically parse JSON in a nicely formatted way. So we have the API. Let's just copy this URL and let's come to the code and let's comment this URL out. So basically this is our client ID, right? Let's use some let's do this. Client ID equals to this. Let's copy this till here and paste it here. This is a string, don't forget it. Okay. We already have the query, and per page, we don't need a variable for that. So we need to make this URL now, and we need to request this URL on search, right? To do that, here's one question. Let's come here. We have an input button, but we don't have a submit button, right? Let's click as and click enter. Let's see. If you click enter, nothing happens, right? So how were we able to press enter on an input component when we were making web apps without React? Think about that question. And if you don't know the question, the answer is very simple. There are two ways. Not sorry. With enter, there is only one way. That is enclosing the input tag inside a form, right? So, or other way around is that you can just create a button with the input tag, but I don't want to do that. So let's just enclose this inside a form. What happened? Form. Okay. Here. And let's see what happens when we now enter. Okay, the page reloaded. So why did that happen? We'll see. We'll see. Okay. For starters, the form takes a prop called as on submit. Now on submit is an event, and every event has a callback function, right? As we saw with on change, we get event as the parameter, so we name it as event, right? Let's do console log of event, and let's see what happens. ASD enter. Yeah, nothing. It refreshes. So what happens here is in React, whenever we do form on submit, whenever we press enter, the page reloads, right? And we don't want that. So what we do is let's take this out first of all. Let's create a different function, and let's do const handle submit, and here, right? And let's add this handle submit here, refresh. It will still behave exactly the same, right? We see this question mark out of nowhere because that is how forms behave. What we can do is we have this event, right? Let's delete this. Let's start curly braces. Now we can do as event dot prevent default. What this will do is this will prevent the page from refreshing, and then let's see if console log works. Console log event, whether this works or not. Let's see, ASE go. Yeah, it works. And as we can see, we have a synthetic event of type submit. React name is on submit. Okay, cool, cool. So here what we can do is instead of event, let's see if we can paste query. ASDA. Yeah, we are pasting the queries now. Okay. Uh, can we do one thing? Okay, let's see how Unsplash works on this. If I enter okay, it keeps the data. But let's just do some small exercise. On pressing enter, my input should come to, everything that is written inside the input should just go away, right? That is what I want to do now. So let's just do one thing. Let's console this log, and what we can do here is we can do set query to an empty string, right? Let's see what happens then. ASD, and yeah, it is an empty string, but we still have our query with us, right? So now what we can do is on submit here. Wait, between this and this line, we can add our API code here, right? So to make a API request, what we can do is fetch. We have to fetch this whole thing, right? Let's just fetch this URL first, right? Let's do a fetch of this, and we all know promises, then data, and let's do a console log of data. Oh, sorry. With fetch, we need then data.json, data.json, and then we need a data to data, and then we need a catch error console.log. Let's just do console.log error. We don't wanna do anything more than that for now. Let's see whether this works or not. Let's do a cat. Okay, we are getting the data. So once again, what I did was I just copied this URL, I pasted this inside fetch. Then, as we do in promises, I called the dot then block. Data went to data.json, and then I called then again. In this, then I'm doing a console log here, right? And then catch will basically give me catch if there is any error. So let's say if I remove this S from here, okay, so this will probably come in catch, right? Yeah, you see errors, one unable to find the endpoint. Basically it is working. Let's just do control Z. Yeah, now what we have to do is we have to substitute this query, and we have to substitute this client ID. So in order to do that, what we can do is we can just take this URL out first. Let me close this first. Okay, and instead of a proper double quotes, we can do a template literal here, paste this, and then query equal to cat, remove the cat, dollar sign, and then we can do a query here, query, and then same here. What we can do is dollar client ID. Let's see if this works. Let's do cat and go down, and yeah, total of 10,000 and total pages 500 because we have 20 results per page, right? So we have successfully done the API request. So let's remove this. A better method to do this is async await always, but we don't need async await here. I'll tell you why. First of all, let's do one thing. Whatever data we are getting from this API request, let's store it in a state. Let's create a new state, const photos, and set photos equals to use state. Let's do an empty array, right? And in this console log data, inside data, we are getting something called as results, and results array is basically giving us, let's see, yeah, results array is basically giving us all those links. So data, if we do data dot results, and let's go down here and let's search again, I don't know, whatever. So this gave me just one single photo which I don't need. Let's do another search, and okay, what just happened? Yeah, let's do another search of table and let's press enter. So we have 20 results here. So what we can do is we can do this console log as a set photos, and in the next component where we will store our or show our photos, we can just send this photos here inside that component. So I'll see you in the next video. This is a hell lot of things. Just take a break and come back.